it's Marian. Welcome to 25 Days of Plantmas. This is a special My Oasis Life holiday series where I'll be talking about at least one of my plants per day, every day during Vlogmas. I'll be sharing with you the plant's journey with me ever since I've gotten it, all of our highs and lows, and of course how I care for and propagate the plant. So let's go check my plant vent calendar and see which one of my plants I'll be sharing with you today. Today is day 3 of 25 Days of Plantmas. And our plantmas of the day is my Manjula and my Marble Queen Pothos. So this is my Marble Queen Pothos and this is my Manjula Pothos. As you can see, they share a lot of similarities, and later on I will tell you how to tell them apart. But first, let me talk about my Marble Queen Pothos. I got this Marble Queen Pothos from a local grocery store here called Safeway. If you're from the East Coast, you'll be familiar with Safeway. And in their floral department, I saw this, but it was in a pretty beat up condition, and it was a lot smaller than it is now. And I asked the lady at the floral department if I could get a discount on it, and it was originally priced at $5 and she gave me a 50% discount. But after everything that was said and done, I think I only got it for about $2, which was amazing. And when I got it home, I repotted it immediately, and I actually did shoot a repotting video on it, which I think I accidentally deleted on my YouTube. I didn't really mean to, but it was the second and last repotting video I ever did for YouTube, because all the plants, well, the 2 plants that I've repotted for YouTube had issues with the end, and I think it's just because I can't repot and film at the same time, and that is affecting the plants. So I just, when I'm repotting my plants, when I'm actually doing my plant care with the plants, I don't film them. As you might have, if you've been with me for a while, you see I don't do any repotting or plant care videos, except for maybe the last one where I showed you watering my plants, which is pretty easy, and I don't think it had affected the plant. And I think it affects the plants when I don't give my full attention to them, so I stopped doing repotting videos, but maybe in the future I'll do them more. But yeah, going back to the plant. So what happened was, I think I put it in a pot that didn't have real drainage in it. And for a month, I was observing the plant. It wasn't producing any new growth. It wasn't yellowing. It wasn't dying off, but it wasn't producing any new growth. And it has been over a month. And I think I was like, oh, maybe I need to water it. And that was the second mistake I made, because pothos, I eventually learned, don't like being overwatered. Even though they could survive in water, they don't like to survive in both water and soil at the same time. It's either or. So when I realized that, I started to check the soil and see what's going on in it, and then I finally saw that there was root rot. So I took it out of the soil, what I could save, and those had still really good roots. I repotted them, and the rest I kept in water. And for the longest time, I kept it in water just because I was too scared to put it back in soil and have it experience root rot again. And I thought it was thriving in the water, so I think I should keep it that way. And the one that is potted back into soil, it was doing fine. It wasn't producing any new growth, but it was fine. But eventually, towards the end of the summer, it started producing new leaves, and this one was also growing pretty well in water. In fact, most of the foliage that you see here now were from the water propagation. From the one that I repotted in the soil, it had the 4 original leaves and maybe 2 or 3 new leaves that came from that, but the rest are all just from the water propagation. And I finally decided to repot it because as I transitioned to the winter, I decided to consolidate my plants. So I decided to take the chance and repot it with the one that's already in soil. And so far, it's been doing good. At first, I repotted it in a terracotta pot, which was a bit too small for them. So I eventually moved it to this one, which was the string of pearls. And it's kind of making me nervous, to be honest, putting it in this pot, because the string of pearls experienced root rot in this pot. So I've been really careful with this plant as far as watering it. This one is actually due watering today, but as I touch the soil, I think it could still go another day or 2 without watering. So I'm going to hold off on watering this one. When I do water it, this is probably the plant that I would just give a cup of water to, just to make sure it has water. And I'm really scared of overwatering it and for it to experience root rot again. Caring for these two plants is quite similar. I just check if their soil is completely dry before I water them. Unlike my other pothos, it doesn't really have any other telltale sign that it needs water. My other pothos would either have drooping leaves or curling leaves to indicate that they need water, but for this two, they don't really do that. The marble queen might droop if it needs water, but it doesn't really do that. I haven't seen my Manjula does it, so I just check the soil to see if they need water. And during the growing season, that means between 7 to 10 days, and now in the winter season, that means between 15 to 20 days. As I might have mentioned in previous videos, I use my planter app to help remind me when I need to water these plants, and it's usually pretty on point. And when it comes to fertilization, I haven't fertilized either of these two plants. I might have put earthworm castings in their soil, but that's pretty much it. I've stopped fertilizing my plants altogether in the winter season, but come the next growing season, I'll probably start fertilizing this too, and I would probably just use either a regular all-purpose fertilizer or maybe use a liquid plant food fertilizer that has a 3:1:2 NPK ratio, which has worked pretty well for my other plants that I fertilized in the past growing season. And as far as propagating these two plants, I really haven't had the real chance to propagate from them. My marble queen, I know when I was rehabilitating it, did well with water propagation. So if I do ever propagate from these plants, I'll probably stick to water propagation, just because for my pothos, water propagation seems to work best. I kind of moved to propagating using sphagnum moss, but with my pothos, water propagation still seems to be the best method for them. But like I said, I haven't really had a chance to propagate from these two, so I can't really tell their success rate with either propagation methods. And for the next growing season, maybe aside from the plant swap that I promised a plant friend, I'm not really trying to propagate a lot from these two plants because I think they're pretty full as is. So my goal for these plants is just to actually let them trail and trail really long, which is kind of like my goal for most of my pothos. So I don't think propagation, or at least a lot of propagation, is in the cards for these two next growing season. But if I were ever to propagate from them, I'll probably do it using water propagation. And just with my experience with the marble queen, it takes a long time for the roots to actually grow and be long enough to transfer into soil with less damage or shock. So if you're going to propagate from a marble queen pothos or a Manjula pothos, just take a lot of patience with it, because unlike other potho varieties, especially golden pothos, it grows roots pretty quickly. I have plants that grow roots within 2 weeks, and it's not the case for this two. I don't think it will ever be, just with my experience. Took about 2 to 3 months before I was very confident that I could transfer it into soil without giving it any shock or losing a lot of leaves. And when I did transfer it to soil, I think I lost only 4 leaves, which is pretty good for this amount of foliage that I got for this marble queen. Yeah, this is my marble queen. This is the very first pothos that I got. And before I got the marble queen, I was very adverse to pothos because they're such a common plant. But once I realized there's so many varieties of pothos, starting with this marble queen, the pothos has become my main collection in my plant collection, which led me to the discovery of the Manjula Pothos. I first found out about the Manjula Pothos through BB Plants. She got one from Costa Farms, and I saw it. It was really beautiful, and I wanted one. And she actually had a giveaway, but unfortunately, I didn't win her giveaway, which was okay. I think a week or two later, I saw it in my local Lowe's. It was about, like, I think an 8-inch, a 6 or 8-inch pot. I couldn't remember. It was between $12 to $15. I got it, of course, on the spot. It was the only one at the store, and I was so happy I got it. The thing about this Manjula, though, some of the leaves, like on the side, have reverted back to green, but it's fine because I love the shape of the Manjula Pothos leaves, and that's how you tell it apart from a marble queen. The marble queen still has the same shape of leaf like you would see on a neon pothos or a golden pothos, but the Manjula Pothos has a more rounded leaf, almost like a philodendron, but not really. And this variegation also swirls. And there's also the Snow Queen Pothos and the Harlequin Pothos, which looks very similar to either of these two, and the Gisenia Pothos, which looks very similar to this too. So the Gisenia Pothos is basically a golden pothos that's very variegated. So you see a lot of yellow variegation as opposed to white or lime variegation. So that's how you tell it apart from Marble Queen Pothos. How you tell a Snow Queen Pothos is basically it looks a lot like the Marble Queen Pothos, but it has more white than green. So it will be mostly like this one, this leaf light here, but very white and just fewer green speckles. And as far as the Harlequin Pothos, it's basically a Manjula Pothos, but instead of a lemon lime variegation and speckles, basically a more white version of the Manjula Pothos when it comes to variegation. So that's how you really tell it apart, but I was satisfied with getting the Manjula and the Marble Queen. I didn't feel the need to also get a Gisenia and the Snow Queen and a Harlequin, because at some point, because of their variegations, they're basically just a wider version of this two. By getting those, they're just going to revert back to something that looks a lot like the Manjula and a lot like the Marble Queen. So I think I'm okay with just having the Marble Queen and a Manjula Pothos in my pothos collection, and I'm really happy with them. Especially this one is starting to trail, and when it's actually really gets growing, I promised a friend that I'm going to do another plant swap with her, so I'm excited for that. And this Marble Queen, I think I am going to keep it in this pot if it keeps thriving, but I might also put it in a pot that is lighter and maybe possibly put it up in my green wall along with the other pothos and philodendrons and scindapsuses that I have up in my green wall. And yeah, so this is my Marble Queen Pothos, and my Manjula Pothos are Plantmas of the day. That's our Plantmas story of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of 25 Days of Plantmas. And if you miss any episodes, all of them will be included in the playlist that links up in the card and down in the description. Thanks again for watching. I see you, I appreciate you, and have a plentiful holiday season, everyone. Bye!